Welcome back to the Accidental Telescope Factory. I'm Brian, and today we're going to build our own 10 telescopes 3D printed 2-inch focuser, and it's suitable for astrophotography and heavy-duty 2-inch eyepieces for visual imaging. Let's go to the CAD and see what it looks like. Let's see here. We'll go ahead and we'll do a section analysis in Fusion. What this allows us to do is kind of go through. Here you can see the set screws for our adapter, the set screws on the 2-inch part of the focuser, and here you can see these linear rails. That's what's going to keep everything nice and tight and well supported and moving nicely. Here we can see here are planetary gears that will give us some focuser reduction, and there are the bearing blocks up here that are going to hold those rails in place, allow them to slide nicely. And here's how we mount to the telescope with these M5, these little nylock nuts that will be inside the telescope. Okay, got all that? Let's go. Here we are at our workbench. We've got our soldering iron. We're going to start by putting some heated inserts in. But as you can see, the one thing that we can do, we can always go back to our checklist, make sure that everything under the 2-inch focuser section is here. And we've done all that. We've kind of put everything in our little sorting tray here. You see our heated inserts right here. That's what we'll be using first. Let's power up and we'll go through part by part and put on the heated inserts. Okay, so we're going to start with the larger heated inserts. We'll go to 275 degrees. And we do that for the large heated inserts, these M5 ones. So the only place, we're only going to use 3 of those here, and they're going to go into these 3 spots right here. 1, 2, 3 heated inserts. Looks good. Now we'll do our M3 inserts. We're going to turn this down to about 255. Anywhere where we get these little donuts here, if you can see them, we can just take those off with a chisel. Be careful, chisels are very sharp, but they're very effective too. So if you ever get a filament pooling up around your heated insert, you just take those little donuts off. Make sure that there's no way that your chisel can slide into your hand. There we go. Perfect. All right, so, actually, we'll do a really fun step right now, which I really enjoy. It's very satisfying for some reason. Inside of this focuser, there's a little support, and you can kind of see it right in there. What we're going to do is we're going to take a 2.5 millimeter or a 3 millimeter Allen key, and we'll just put it through those center holes and just a little tap there, a little tap in the other hole, and that little fella pops right out. Okay. That's all the heated inserts for this piece. Let's move on to some of the others. Looks pretty straight. Those were our heated inserts all completed now. Now another step that we can do, another couple steps we can do is it's a very, very tiny part. It's this little tiny plunger, and it's actually got a big job, but it's a very small part. The first thing we can do is get our little magnets here. Is we're going to put those magnets into these little holes here. And they'll just press fit. So what I'm going to do is I'll just turn that upside down. Press fit it in. Now the second magnet will be attracted to the first one, so that always makes it a little more interesting. Oh, that actually went in quite nicely. So sometimes they press in just with the, now you're gonna have to dial in your shrinkage to make sure that it is that nice a fit, but okay. And then the other step we can do is we'll take this 4mm inside diameter PTFE tube, and it's actually got a 6mm outside diameter, and we're going to cut that into an 18mm long piece. You put it up beside and we can say, okay, slightly shorter, so that's slightly shorter. So we can cut our PTFE tube. That's our good piece. And then the kind of tricky part is you need to slice it lengthwise in half. So what I like to do is I like to just eyeball it very carefully. It's not going to be perfect, but then you can just slice it lengthwise. And if all goes well, you'll end up with two halves. You only need one. And that one should slide in. You can see there's kind of a lip there. And you'll slide this PTFE tube in from the end. Oh, the other piece we made is perfect. Okay, that took a little bit of finagling and fitting, but now you can see there's a PTFE tube inside of, half of a PTFE tube inside of there, just resting in there. Okay. This is a bare rail, so we use MGN 12 linear rails to make our focuser precision movement. The draw tube is mounted on 3 of these. And so we're gonna, just because it's easier to do it without the bearing block on it, we're just gonna use our naked rail first. If you're not able to get a naked rail, you'll just have to buy an MGN 12 bearing assembly with a 100mm rail like this, and you'll just have to slide the bearing block off. It's a little bit of a waste, so it's not my favorite thing. If you come to 10 Telescopes, we'll sell you a bare rail with the kit, so that you won't have to waste. And now what you're going to do is you're going to find the one surface that's further away from the other two. So these two surfaces with the 4 holes in it, they're a bit closer together. And then there's one that's a little bit further away. That's the one we're going to focus on. And we're not going to screw too hard. These screws do not have to bear a lot of force. Most of the force is lateral force. We're going to use M3/8. Now, we're just screwing into plastic here, so we're not going to overdo it. We're going to screw in just enough so that the bear rail is placed. But the minute we can feel that it's not super loose, we want it to just be in place, but not moving around too much. You start to see that screw peek through the other side. Okay, that's good. Okay. So that's good. Now what we will do is we'll cut one of these. You could lose your bearing block. Okay, now you can see from the factory this is covered with all kinds of oil. So we're going to wipe that off. Excess here. Again, the biggest thing we don't want to happen is we don't want this bearing block to see, we've got this little rubber stopper here. We don't want that to slide off of the end of the rail, or all the little ball bearings that are inside will fall out, and then you'll have, well, potentially a ruined bearing block, or you can try and pick them all up off the ground and put them back in, and let me tell you, that's not how you want to spend your afternoon. All right. That one's wiped off. Now what we will do is we will pull off one of these little plugs here. We're going to make sure that we don't lose the bearing block. Okay. Now we'll put another one here. Okay. So this is what this assembly looks like now. You see how we have this little rim down here that's stopping these bearing blocks from sliding off, so that's good. So we've got the bare rail, and you can see the bare rail is kind of on its own over here, and these two are kind of a little bit closer to each other, the ones with the bearing blocks. Now, before we go to the next step, one important thing we need to do is we need to take this focuser body and we need to make sure that this plunger, together with its two magnets and its PTFE tube, they will slide right inside of there. We'll just slide it down right inside there, just kind of tucked a little bit, almost out of sight. Okay, that's good. So now what we can do is take this thing that we've just assembled and find this area where these openings are, and we'll slide all of that in there, just like that. That will all just go in there. Now, what we'll need to do is find something like an Allen key and just push those right into their final spots. And you'll know that they're in there when you can look in these holes. Sometimes if you have something small, like this little Allen key here, you'll be able to tell that they're lined up because you can actually put the Allen key right through and into the holes on the bearing block. Yep, that seems pretty good. Okay. So now, one, okay. Now we've got those in place. Great. Now what we'll do is you'll be able to see that there are these M3s are sticking through a little bit in here. We'll back those out, just these first two. So this one and this one, this one and this one, this one and this one. Don't let this slide right out the back or you'll lose your bearings again. So what we're gonna do first though is we're gonna just loosen these up a bit. Those are nice and recessed, those are nice and recessed. Okay. So now what we're gonna do, this is a bit tricky again. Again, we're not letting this slide out of here. Okay, so we're gonna look again for the two that are close together. So there's a pair here that are close together, and there's one here that's kind of off on its own. So these two that are close together, they'll go in these top ones. And we'll just slide them in like that. All right. And then we'll start tightening this one a little bit here. Just a little bit until we can feel that, oh, it's kind of landed in its place. And you can kind of even see it. So when that's in its place, and we can just tighten it back down again. We're not going to over tighten because we can very easily break the plastic threads. Again, we're just feeling till it just is resisting a little bit. There we go. Just resisting just a little bit. And we know it's in there. Okay. And now, our outer tube now has the inner. And so now this can't slide out of here. Okay, so now we're going to put these M3 by 25s or M3 by 20s. Either one will be fine. And they're countersinking style. We have that little tapered head on there, so they can go right in and disappear into there. Okay. One way that you will know that you're aligned is if these screws go in. Again, you're screwing in a plastic thread, but there's enough of it that it should have an excellent purchase. Okay, if you've done a good job and your shrinkage is set on your printer, okay, make sure your shrinkage is set. For ABS or ASA, it's probably going to be 99.35, something like that %. If everything's correct, then your 2-inch accessory will just slide beautifully in there, and it shouldn't be sloppy at all, and it just slide in nicely. So now we're going to put in our 110 millimeter piece, could be 105 millimeter piece of 4 millimeter stainless steel rod. And we're just going to put that right into this hole. We're going to look through, and we should be able to see right through to the other side, so that plunger is out of the way enough. And this should just slide in nicely. It should get past the plunger and just come out the other side like this. Now you'll have a little bit of stainless steel rod. Now I've put a flat spot on my stainless steel rod right there, and also a flat spot on this side. You can see it right there. When we do these next steps, we're going to want to make sure we know where that flat side is. But okay, so now we've got our plunger in. Now, we're going to take these little tiny M3 nuts. They actually have a very important job. We're going to drop them in. Where's the other one? Where's the other one? We're going to put them in these little tiny slots right here. There's one. There's the other one. So they'll go in there, and then we can push them right into the bottom of their slots. Okay. And now we will find our M3 by 14s. M3 by 14s, and we'll put them in there like that. I prefer socket heads. I could only get button heads, so that's a little bit annoying because you can't torque on the button heads as much. It's a lot smaller. And we're gonna screw this in. It's gonna go right into that M3 nut and right through it to the other side, and it will start pushing on that plunger. And we're not going to tighten them too hard yet, but you'll be able to feel right away that this that stainless steel rod is being pushed by the piston, which is being pushed by these two screws we put in, and we're going to create an appropriate amount of force so that it doesn't want to move too much. We don't want to over tighten, but okay, we're going to leave it right there for now. Anyway, you can see it, and we don't ever want to force it because this hardened steel will actually wear down the stainless steel because it's harder, and then you get flat spots and things won't work as nicely as we want them to. Okay, so now it's starting to look like a focuser. Now another step we can do at this point is figure out what size Allen key will fit into these little tiny grub screws. So that's too big, sorry, it's too small. That's the size right there. So we're going to need that in a second. Okay, so we've got the grub screws. We're going to point them so the flat side is out, and the side with the hex, where the hex head goes in, is going to go into the focuser first. So we're just going to screw that right into that heated insert that we put in earlier. So you can see I've kind of started it. I'm going to twist as far as I can by hand until there's almost nothing left to grab onto. And then I'll come in here with this Allen key. I just tested the size. I'm going to put it in through this hole, through the back side. And I'm going to turn that until that just disappears. You see that that has now disappeared in there, right? So now you can see those grub screws have just disappeared inside. Okay, good. So, and now what have we got? Now we can put on our coarse focuser. This is a great big focusing knob. I'm going to find the flat spot here. We're going to line up this flat spot with this screw here. Okay, and once you get this little set screw against the flat spot of that stainless steel rod, now you'll be able to see the focuser starting to do its job. Okay, very good. Now we're almost done. Okay, the next steps are to put together, this is a bit tricky, put together our planetary gears. We've got two stages. Here's the stage 1 planetary gear and the stage 2. And the first thing we're going to do is make sure that they're spinning well. Sometimes when they come off the printer, oh, yep, see, this one's a little bit stuck. What you can actually do is you can grab the fine focusing knob, don't stick it in too far, just enough to kind of grab onto it, and you can just break. Sometimes on the printer bed there's a little bit of a booger or something that will hang onto it. Okay, so stage 1 planetary gear, stage 2 planetary gear, each one is a 3-to-1 reduction, so we get a total 9-to-1 reduction. This is what we call a transfer plate. It's got 3 little holes there, and we can bring in our little 3mm dowel pins. They're just smooth surface pins, and you can just set them in there. 1, 2, 3. And its job is to transfer the reduction from one planetary to the next. So now this will just simply slide onto there, just match up. We're going to line up those same 3 holes, and we can kind of put it on the table. So now we've got our transfer plate and our stage 1 planetary, and they're working together nicely. Okay, so now we will line up that transfer plate with this. So the tricky part is to line up the square nose of that transfer plate to the square hole here, but also line up these. So what we'll do is we'll do a kind of a preliminary lineup here. What we can do is we can kind of do a little bit of a use this just temporarily line up. So what we might need to do sometimes is just kind of gently pull these legs out just a bit so that it slides on there just nicely. All right. So now we've got our 2 stages assembled, and we can do a little test. We can actually put this in here, not very far, but just kind of do a little test to make sure that those are moving. So now that we've got those, now what we can do is, oops, and those will just go together like that. And now put these in here. .3mm diameter by 16mm length. We're going to put the housing on here now. And there's 3 holes inside that housing that'll match onto those dowel pins. So what you can do is you can just kind of put it on, and then you can just kind of feel around until it just slides right on there. So that's what that looks like now. And just as kind of a sanity check, we can put our, make sure that it's causing that to move nicely. We will look for, actually what we'll do is we'll rotate this focuser until the flat spot is somewhere convenient for us to line up with. So there's the flat spot on that rod now. And what we'll do is we will rotate this until it's in the same place, more or less. I'll get an M3 by 18. M3 by an 18. All right. Now, let's just verify that we're on the flat spot. Yeah, that looks to be on the flat spot. And now we can put our M3 by 14s through here. Okay, now we're going to secure this L bracket. So now we have a gear reduced focuser. And we can do coarse focusing with this large knob. And you can see and the only thing left is mounting it onto the telescope, and that's what these holes here are for. So these M5s go through here and they allow you to mount onto the telescope. And yeah, there's our 3D printed heavy duty focuser.